Welcome to Cricut Basics for Scrapbooking. We're going to give a couple of minutes for people to log in. In the meantime, if you're watching on the Scrapbook School website, I left a couple of questions for you. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me where you're watching from, how long you've been using Cricut, what machine, and if you use mobile or desktop version. Also, don't forget to download the PDF of the instructions for the project we'll be making today. It has all of the links to the Cricut Design Space file as well as the actual instructions for how to put everything together. So if you can't stay for the whole workshop, because we're going to be doing the project near the end part, if you can't stay for the whole time, then you'll at least have the PDF, so you'll be able to make that project on your own time. So we're just going to give maybe another minute for people to trickle in and introduce themselves. And while that's happening, I'm just doing some housekeeping. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So this workshop is about 90 minutes to 2 hours long. It depends on actually you, because I'm hoping that you will ask as many questions as you have about each of the different topics that I'm going to bring up today. And you know, the more questions we have, I anticipate that it could go longer. And as I just said, if you can't stay the whole time, this video will be archived on the Scrapbook School website, and I'll also have it posted to YouTube so you can watch it later whenever you're able. This is a part of a two-part series, so today we're just going over why we want to use Cricut for scrapbooking, the benefits of using it, and some of the tools and materials that you can use, some of the things that you can make. So we'll talk about that today. And then part two is actually making a quick and easy scrapbook layout using Cricut, and I'll provide a file for you of a 2-page scrapbook layout with some embellishments and a journaling piece and a title block, and we will make that using Cricut. And that was originally scheduled for September 28th, but I am pushing it back just to give some more people time to sign up for that. So it'll be on October 5th at 2:00 p.m. Okay, the other thing I just wanted to mention to you is that, as I mentioned, there's going to be some segments to today's workshop, and what I will do is I will pause to allow you to ask questions, open up for Q&A. There might be something you want me to actually demo for you, so I've baked in time for that. You can leave comments on the Scrapbook School website where this workshop is living. So if you have any comments you want to or questions, you can leave them there, or on the YouTube video if you're watching from there. I'm going to be looking at both websites at the same time to make sure that I'm able to keep up with your questions and comments. So give me a little minute to make sure that I'm able to catch up to you guys with your comments. There will be giveaways during this workshop, so I have some little poll questions. So for people who answer the polls, and I might be doing some spot giveaways throughout, I will give you a heads up when that occurs. You must be present to win, however, so I've pulled the names of the people who have registered for the workshop, and if you're present, then I can, go ahead and send the prize to you. I will contact you afterwards if you are a winner to get your mailing address so that I can send your giveaway out. And let me see if there's anything else. No, I mentioned the PDF. I will also include a link to the PDF on the YouTube page, as well as a link to the project in Cricut Design Space. And I think that's it for housekeeping. So I do have some screens that I want to show you. They are in PowerPoint. I promise you that it will not be boring. I know people's eyes glaze over when they hear PowerPoint. They're like, oh my gosh, we're having a PowerPoint presentation. So don't worry, it's gonna be good. Let me share my screen. And you should be seeing Cricut Basics for Scrapbooking on your screen. Yes, I see it on my little screen that I'm looking at. And we are good to go. All right, so let's go to the next screen. Just for FYI, a disclaimer before we start, I want you guys to know that I do not work for Cricut. I am not paid by Cricut or endorsed by Cricut, and this workshop is not brought to you by or endorsed by Cricut. I just wanted to put that out there just in case anybody was wondering. I am, however, an affiliate of Cricut, which means that if I share a product link and you purchase it from the Cricut website or from the Amazon.com website, I will get a small commission. Then that's at no additional cost to you. I see some people have trickled in. Welcome. If you're watching on the Scrapbook School website, I left a question. Introduce yourself. Where are you from? How long have you used Cricut? What machine are you using? And if you're on the mobile or desktop version, just so I have an idea of where everybody is. I'm anticipating that there are going to be people in all different parts of their Cricut journey. So I just want to be able to at least try to accommodate those who are watching, to see that I am making sure that you're getting what you need. Okay, so Cricut. So I talk about Cricut a lot because it's what I know in terms of scrapbooking. So I've been using Cricut machines for almost 20 years. I cannot believe it's been 20 years. And it has been a part of many scrapbooking, card making, and other paper crafting projects. So what you're looking at right now are other projects that I've made. So you see the embellishment. I made that little tote bag sewing using my Cricut Maker, and that it's like a tabletop quilt. I actually made that with my Cricut machine too. So I have been a little experimental with Cricut. I even use the heat press and all of that stuff, but primarily I use Cricut for scrapbooking and paper crafting, and I actually enjoy teaching other people how to do the same thing too. So in today's workshop, we're going to cover just an overview of Cricut, the different machines, because I get questions about which machine is best for scrapbooking, and the answer may surprise you. We'll talk about design space from a scrapbooker's point of view, what functions you should be using or try to learn how to use to make the most of your paper crafting experience. We're also going to talk about tools and materials that I think you should use. I'm going to show you the tools you've seen before. I'm going to show you some materials that I think you could use that will help you really level up some of your scrapbooking stuff, especially for embellishments. And then at the end, we're going to make a fall themed tag embellishment. Okay. So, quiz. When was the first Cricut machine created? 1999, 2003, or 2010? If you know the answer, please feel free to leave it in the chat box, whether you're on YouTube or on the Scrapbook School website. And I'm going to look to see if anybody has answered. I feel like I should play the Jeopardy music, but then I'll probably get a copyright strike from YouTube. Okay. I don't see any answers, so I'm gonna answer it for you. The first Cricut machine was released in 2003, and it was called the Cricut Create. The Cricut Create. And Provo Craft was a scrapbooking company that did mostly like paper stuff, and then they came out with a Cuttlebug, and then they said there's got to be a way for people to be able to craft faster, and thus the Cricut was created. So let's go to the first question. Why do we use Cricut for scrapbooking? All right, so this is me in a video, and you can look it up on YouTube. That is called Why I Use Cricut for Scrapbooking. And I did this video in May 2009, and I'm gonna play it. I don't know if you're gonna be able to... Hey there everybody, welcome to Crop Candy TV, and today we're going to talk about die cuts. Yes, I can hear.
And here's the story of die cuts in my life.
Basically,
first we had the Sizzix machine. Well, this is probably generation number 2.
Back then,
the red one where you had to slide, crank down, slide, crank down. My mother has that. Then I got a Big Shot, which is supposed to make things easier because you can just crank through.
And they weren't
you can see
dies.
La 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 la. I'm just cranking.
Then you have this machine called Cricut, which I bought.
My new love
is
the Cricut.
And back
with
then
Cricut,
the cartridges, which is what you're seeing now.
All kinds of letters,
like a little faux keyboard on
and
top
shapes,
of the machine, and then those were your functions,
and all kinds
there
of
wasn't really too much customization.
Sizes
pretty much
from
the machine
1 inch to 5.5 inch, and that's at least that's the one I have, the personal cutter. And if you've been following my blog, you know that I recently purchased a Cricut.
And hey, the thing about that machine, I was so geeked over it, is that it really opened my eyes up to what I could do in terms of die cuts, because die cuts are kind of mostly plain unless you do some special things with it. But with Cricut, and over time, they've added so many different the pens and the foiling and all these other things you could do. It really helps elevate your die cutting, and it elevates your scrapbook pages, and you can go quicker and faster than you could with the hand crank die cutting, like oh gosh, what are those, the punches or anything else. So I just wanted to share that with you, because beyond simple die cuts and letters and tools, the thing that I like the most about the Cricut machine is that I can recreate and customize anything that I see in the store. So for example, you go in the store, you see this. Now this is a Jolie's. I don't even know if they make Jolie's, but Jolie's were like the first people to do embellishments, and this is made of felt and some other things. I can find a little coat and a hat and a sled in the Cricut library or elsewhere and upload it to Cricut, and I can recreate this with some felt and other materials. I don't have to buy this in the store. You've also seen what I would call like cardstock die cuts or stickers. You can recreate these as well. These are from American Crafts. Not to take anything business away from American Crafts, but you can recreate this if you know how to use the Cricut machine and Cricut Design Space. So this is why I like to use Cricut. Now, let me share my screen. So these are examples. You may have seen some of these things in previous videos that I've done. We've got, again, these are all custom embellishments. So I've got a tag on the upper left-hand corner. I've got a gift tag from Santa that I created with different materials. I've got an ice cream sticker. It's a die cut sticker, or a cardstock sticker that I use print and cut with. On the lower left, that is a journaling block where I use Cricut pins to create the lines and the title on the journaling block, and then I added a die cut bicycle and added the little flowers on there. In the center, we've got a title block. If you've seen the title block builder video, that is what that is based on. At the bottom, I've got a border of waves, and I just jazzed up the cut with some ink spray. And then on the right is a mini album that I created, cut out the pages with Cricut, and the pages are not just simple rectangles. They're actually die cut pages in different shapes, and then used a cinch machine to put it together. So that's an example of a mini album, and I just did a video over the summer of that. So these are all made with Cricut and items that I have in my stash. If you've been scrapbooking for a while, you have a probably your own store in your house. And so you can go in your store in your house and recreate or the things that you've seen that you like on the internet, or if you have old like papercraft magazines, you can recreate all of that stuff with items that you have on hand without spending any extra money. Or if you're a customer of Creative Memories I know is really big into borders. You know, like that wave border at the bottom, you know, you can recreate that yourself. So that is why I'm a big proponent of Cricut. Not only Cricut, you can use Silhouette, whatever electronic die cutter you use. It really does help you scrapbook faster, and it actually makes your pages with your own creative input really look good and pop. So if there's any questions, I will pause here. I'll look and see if you have anything. You might still be thinking of some stuff, so I will go on. So we have another quiz. What is the newest machine in the Cricut lineup? If anybody wants to guess, you can go ahead and leave a comment. People who guess correctly could win a prize. The first person who guesses correctly can win a prize. Don't be shy. Is it the Venture? That's the big one that came out earlier this year, I think. You have the Cricut Joy Extra, which is the next size up from the original Cricut Joy, and then the Cricut Maker 3. What do you think is the newest in the Cricut machine lineup? Any guesses? Okay, I'm gonna guess for you. It is the Cricut Venture. The Cricut Venture, and that is sort of for, the only word I can think of is like professional people who have businesses where they need a big machine. They're making stickers for sale. They're making t-shirt designs and sublimation stuff. That is really what the Cricut Maker is for, although you could probably use it for scrapbooking. I don't really know why you would, but you know, maybe you want to, but that is the newest machine. Okay. Moving on. So let's talk about Cricut machines. This is a question that I get all the time. Which is the best machine for scrapbooking? So these are the machines that you may be familiar with. The Joy Extra, which is the slightly bigger version, the Explore, and the Maker. I'm not including the Venture because, like I said, it's kind of the higher end level of machine. So the Joy reminds me of the early Cricut machines because you have a smaller cutting area. Usually, I think the biggest is like what, 4 by 12 or 6 by 12. It's small and compact. They put it out for mostly like people who want to do pre-made cards, labels, and decals. You don't need a mat if you use the smart materials and go through the machine. It's the least expensive in the lineup, and it also is able to use pins. Then they came up with the Joy Extra, which gives you a larger cutting space. So that's about 8.5 by 12. So if you're into making scrapbooks, you can actually use an extra for those larger pieces that you would put on a layout, especially if you're a 12 by 12 scrapbooker. Then you have the Explore, and I put in parentheses 3 because the Explore line has Explore Air, and now the Explore 3. I call this the workhorse. This is probably the one that most people have. It's a nice mid-range price. It gives you a 12 by 12 cutting area, and you have the ability to use more tools and cut more different kinds of materials without breaking the machine. And then finally you have the Maker, and I put 3 in parentheses because that is the current one. And then you have Maker series. So I have the original Maker, and then I have a Maker 3. This one also cuts even more materials. It's faster, and it has a little bit more capabilities. So of these machines, which one would I recommend for scrapbooking? Well, my answer is get the biggest machine you can afford for what you want to make with it. So when I was thinking about which machine I wanted, I didn't have as many options when I first got into Cricut. So I had a smaller Cricut machine, that original personal cutter. Then they came out with an Expressions, which was a little bigger, and then they came out with the Air, which was like wireless to Cricut Design Space, no more cartridges or anything like that. I've since gotten the Maker. I got the Maker because it allowed you to use fabric for sewing. So I started, with quilts and things like that. And now I have the Maker 3. I have stuck with the Maker and the Maker 3 because I'm used to the 12 by 12. I also recently purchased the Joy Extra. I had a Joy. I just found it was small. I tend to do 12 by 12 scrapbooking. Even if I did a mini book, it would still be difficult. You can't really score on the Joy. You can't score at all on the Joy. The only thing you can do is use pens. So if you're making like small embellishments, cards, journaling blocks, it works fine. But when you get into, I want to make a mini album, I need to score my pages. To make a mini album, you got to fold over. So if you fold over something on a Joy, a regular Joy, it's going to be really tiny, like 3 inches. So you can get away with the Joy Extra for scrapbooking projects. I just feel like you should try to grow into your machine, because you don't know what else you're going to do with it. Like, I don't just do paper crafting, I do sewing. So I want to be able to cut different kinds of materials, and I want other than paper. But I think certainly the Explore series is good, and the Maker series is good. That's what I would choose if I could afford, if I was in your place and you're saying, hey, Carolyn, I can't afford the Maker or God, I'm losing my train of thought. Maker or Explorers, then I would say at least get the Joy Extra, because you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of cutting larger pieces like borders, because the mats can cut 8.5 to 12. So I would say stick to Joy Extra up to Maker if possible, and think about if you want to make more types of things, cut more materials, use different blades, then the more expensive machines are going to do that. So that gets you up to the Maker. I know it's like fuzzy as all get out, but it really is goes back to get the machine that is the one that you can afford for what you want to make. So I will pause for questions on that. If anybody has any, you can leave some in the comments. I'll just give you a second to think about that, challenge me, say I don't buy that, or I totally agree. It's just my opinion on what works or what I've seen work. Okay, so we have another quiz coming up. Can you do calligraphy on a Cricut? Yes or no? Can Cricut do calligraphy? Is it possible? Is it possible to do calligraphy? And the answer is yes. It is possible to do calligraphy on a Cricut with a Cricut calligraphy pen. They actually make those. So if you're into calligraphy, maybe you want to make like place cards for Thanksgiving and you want to use a specialty pen, you can do that with your calligraphy pen. All right, so let's go look at Design Space. And here's where, if there's stuff that you want me to show you within Design Space on how to do something, because I'm going to share my screen with Design Space. I want to talk to you about which functions you should be using or you should experiment with as a scrapbooker, because Design Space is so extensive and it will actually take more time than the time I've allotted for this workshop to go into specifics of everything. And you know, if you followed me on my channel, you know that I have gone into some of these things and done deep dives, and my intention is to actually do workshops where we could just focus on one thing and work through one of those functions together. But today we're just going to talk about how you would apply some of the Design Space functions to the things that most scrapbookers are working with. And those are, as I've already said, are your custom embellishments, your journaling spots, stickers that you want to make, any borders that you want to make, custom albums like the mini albums, and one thing I didn't bring up, which was custom page backgrounds, like making your own pattern paper. So in my view, those are the things that most scrapbookers do generally. And so we're going to look at what are the specific functions within Design Space to help you do that. The first thing you want to do is you want to prep your machine for scrapbooking. And I actually did something yesterday that I kind of laughed at because like I should have known better. I actually didn't follow my own instructions. But the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're on the latest version of Design Space. They are constantly updating it. I think it's because people complained, but they're constantly updating the operating systems for the desktop version and the mobile versions. And I have some instructions up there. You can also go to help.cricut.com and get information on how to do that. But always make sure you're in the latest version of Design Space, because a lot of times people have errors during their cutting or designing, and it's because they haven't updated to the latest version. The other thing you also want to do is run a check of the latest firmware. They're always updating that as well. A lot of issues that come up with Cricut Design Space are because you're not running the latest version of the firmware, so you make sure you want to do that. And then the third, which I think is the most important thing, especially if you are into making your own stickers, whether you're using sticker paper or just cardstock print and cut, is to calibrate your machine for print then cut. I cannot emphasize that enough. I did not do that. So here is a true story that happened yesterday. As I was preparing the project for what we're going to do today, the first time I made the project, I calibrated my machine because I had recently updated the app on the desktop version of the app. Went through print and cut, calibration, no problem. Yesterday, I wanted to cut out some pieces for the project so that we could work together. I did not calibrate because I didn't think I had to calibrate. But apparently, the machine decided that you needed to calibrate, and the cut that I have, the sentiment that's on the tag did not cut out very well. So I had to, pardon me, I had to stop and calibrate my machine. Let me just show you what a calibration looks like. This is what you will print out when you follow the calibration wizard. You would print this out on your inkjet or laserjet printer, and then the wizard would take you through. I have a video on calibrating, but you're going to be examining cuts along the top and the side and these little squares, and you're trying to get the best possible cut that you could get from the test. And then once that's set, then your machine is actually calibrated. So let's actually go into Design Space, and I will show you where those settings are. Let me get out of there and stand by while I open up Design Space, share my screen. Okay, so we're in Design Space. What you want to do is you want to come over to your profile and you want to click that. This is on the desktop version. You would, on the mobile, you would do the same thing. And you come over here to settings, and here is where you can find out what the latest version of Design Space is. You can also check to see if there are any updates that are available, and they'll tell you what is in the update. Also, I don't know if you know about this application experience. If you see beta and live, beta allows you to test new features that are in beta testing for Cricut Design Space. So if you want to turn on beta and play with some of the new features that they're currently testing before they've actually put it into the live version, you can do that. The caveat is that, you know, because they're testing it, it could cause some heartache on your projects. So if you're adventurous, go ahead and turn that on. If you're not, I would stick with the live view, which is why I have that settled here on my machine, because I'm just not interested in that. Just when it's ready to go, then I'll play with it. Okay. As far as, oh, this is something that also is new. I did not know they had this mature content. Apparently people upload mature content to Cricut Design Space. I was not aware. You can hide or show that. Thankfully, hide was already pre-selected for me, so I'm okay. Machines. This is where, if you have a new machine that you need to, if you're brand new to Cricut or you just added another Cricut machine, this is where you would go and do your new product setup. It's a wizard. It guides you through the machine setup. Updating the firmware, this is where you would do that. I think you have to hot wire, meaning, I don't know if it does it wirelessly. It used to not do it wirelessly, but you can test that. But, you know, you might have to plug an Ethernet cable into your computer to update the firmware. May or may not. I think you could do it wirelessly or not, but if you get an error message, it might be that you can't do it wirelessly. Anyway, that's where you would update your firmware. When you're doing your machine calibration with that sheet that I showed you, you just select your device, and it will take you through that. Machine care, that's only for venture, the big machines. And then here you can create your own pressure settings for materials. So like, you know, maybe you use a really thick cardstock generally, and you can come in here and select your device and preset the amount of pressure that you want for any type of paper or material that you need. So these are the default settings. I don't go in here. I think one time I did to change something, but here's where you would come in here and, you know, like cardstock for intricate cuts, they're using a lighter pressure. Maybe you need to change that. You would just click edit and use this slider bar to adjust the setting that you have. Some like textured cardstock, you might want to come in and play with those settings. Like if you use basil cardstock or anything that has like specific texture to it, glitter paper, for example, you might want to do special settings if you're having some issues with the regular settings, the default settings. These are just some other design space settings as far as if you're on imperial or metric. I use imperial. Whether you're using full grid, I always use full grid. So I keep these on the default. Load type, I don't, even though I have the ability on the Maker 3 and the Joy Extra, I do not use without mat. Everything I do is on the mat. That's just kind of what I'm used to. Cutting, print and cut page size, you can also customize that. I use 8.5 by 11 because that's what my printer uses, and most of the materials that I use for print and cut are 8.5 by 11. These are just general notifications about the community and any other things that Cricut might want to ping you about. And then the system is just what system you're using, how much memory is being used by Design Space, etc. So that's a little overview of your. Any questions about that? Okay, so next I want to talk about the image library, because this to me is where the rubber hits the road. Nothing else matters with Cricut Design Space until you get a handle on the image menu. There are 1 million images and hundreds of font choices. I don't know how many hundreds, but there's a gazillion font choices. But there are, I think they hit 1 million images recently. You also have the ability, if you are not aware, to upload your own images. If you've purchased kits from me of SVG files or PNG files, then you're used to doing that, where you're uploading them into Design Space to use. You can also purchase SVGs from other places, like, oh gosh, I just did a video on it too recently. But anyway, I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But there are places where you can buy fonts and other things that you can use within Design Space. So I want to give you some tips when you are using the image library. So here you click on images, and but like when you start a project and you have something in mind, I'm completely overwhelmed. So the biggest thing for you is going to be this stuff over here on the left hand side, filters. Because even if I just searched, yeah, let's go here let's use the search I had, maple leaf. I can just scroll for days and days and days. That's just a lot of maple leaves. Suppose I just wanted to find a maple leaf that was free, because maybe I don't have an all access subscription, and that's signified by the little green here. If I don't have an all access subscription, and I don't want to get one, I just want to use what's free. Well, here's something that's come up here. So you can click on that. And this is new, this is relatively recent. So you'll get some information about this particular image. They like to show you what you can use it on in no paper products here, or projects, but it's all like, the vinyl and stuff, which is fine if that's what you're using it for. You're going to get the item image number here. This little symbol here tells me that it is a cut only. That scissor is a cut only file. This tells me how many people have bookmarked this particular file. Over here, I have the option to download for, like if you're not connected to the internet, you want to use Design Space, you can download this for offline use. If I found the maple leaf particularly offensive, I could report it. I could also add it to a collection, and I'll go over collections in a second. Down here, this gives me some additional options for maple leaves, which is nice because, again, when I just typed maple leaf from the main search menu, I was just overwhelmed with a bazillion images. But this is a nice way of drilling down and letting me know what else is out there. Now, this is crossed off for me because I am an all access user, so I don't have to pay for these different things. The other way I know it's for all access is because of this little green flag here with the A in it that stands for access. These are mostly designed by people who are designers within the Cricut Design Space design team. So these are pre-designed, and they like to promote people who are designing for them. And then if I scroll further down, it tells me what sets include this image, which is nice. So maybe, you know, they're just saying it's holiday one cut collection, but say that I was looking for a collection of leaves, I might see where this kit came from, and maybe it's just like general fall images, which would be nice. So that's a nice addition that they've done to the image library. So as I go back over here on the left, I can filter to those that I purchase. So for me, purchase means that I own the cartridges at one point and I uploaded them, and they consider that purchase. Anything that I've uploaded, these are actually designs that I created, which are part of my fall into autumn kit. So you see that. And then downloaded would be ones that I've downloaded offline, and then bookmark would be those that I have favorited. So I haven't favorited any maple leaves. The other thing is if the image is editable. So say you wanted to do sort of like a monogram, you could choose this image here, and I could change the name here and customize it to whatever name that I wanted. And again, as you scroll down, you'll get more options, and they tell you a little bit more about the artists who actually designed it. Let me make it bigger. This here tells me, this symbol here tells me that it is editable, and that it is also, I can cut it. Phrases. Are there any phrases that contain maple leaves? Maybe you're Canadian. You have this option. There's one here with autumn. So again, using these filters on the left really help you drill down. Some other options here: operation type, cut and draw, print then cut. Maybe I just want to print then cut a maple leaf. I get these kinds of options here, which look nice. Image layers, you know, maybe I want just a flat maple leaf, or perhaps I want a layered maple leaf where I have like an overlay and then the shape. And then I can further drill down by creators who are part of the Cricut Creator Network, or designed by Cricut, Disney. Let's see if there are any maple leaves from Disney. Oh yeah, surprisingly there are. Warner Brothers, Star Wars, etc. This is nice as well. This is project based, so you know it'll make recommendations like maybe what is this, you know, maple leaf good for? Is it a stencil? Can I do a stencil with that? And I get options for that. Material, you know, maybe I want to cut it on crepe paper. Do you have any suggestions for a maple leaf cut on crepe paper? No. How about paper and cardstock? Well, of course, there's going to be a zillion of those. And then language is the last one. So if you are, when you think about your project, you may come and you're like, you know, I want a maple leaf, but I just like, I don't want it to just be a flat maple leaf. Use, if you have time, use these filtering functions on the left to help you think of different ways that that maple leaf can be presented other than just a flat maple leaf. Think of things that you can do with the maple leaf, like printing and cutting and things like that, stencils, what have you. This is why I say that a lot of the scrapbooking stuff really is up to you, right? It's using your creativity and it's there for you. The options are there for you to explore. It's just kind of up to you and what you want your project to look like, what kind of options that you take. So, and you can do this with any image. You can also do this with fonts. I think I did a video recently about fonts, but we've never really talked about the image menu and all of the options that you have to use. So once you've got that foundation down and learning how to manipulate that, then you can start building and customizing your own projects. Now I want to talk to you about the collections menu briefly because we talked about adding to a collection. So let's just pull this one up here and click the three dots, and I do add to collections. So collections are things that you can set up, and it's like your own way of organizing within Design Space. I highly recommend that if you're doing a lot of projects in here to go ahead and set up collections so that everything is together. So when you come to Design Space and you got your blank project, that you could easily go into your collections and find anything. And I usually do, you can come over here to your stuff, and this is just the project view, but over here I've got my collections. I want to do some holiday projects. All of my holiday stuff is in one spot. So any questions about that? I'll check on YouTube if anybody's watching there, and on the Scrapbook School site. Okay. So let's talk about, while we're here in Design Space, let's talk about functions. So these are the functions that, again, if we go back to making the custom embellishments, the journaling spots, the borders and the stickers and things like that, pattern paper, customized pattern paper, what are the things, what are the functions that scrapbookers should really look at knowing how to use? And I think I need to put an image on the screen to make that pop up. Okay, and I'm just gonna make this red because anyway. All right, so to get that menu up, as you can tell, you have to click on something to get it to highlight. So in this operations drop down, the first submenu has cut, basic, wavy, and perforate. You already know basic. Wavy and perforate refer to the blades that oh, you're not even seeing my screen. Sorry. All right, here we go. Wavy and perforate, these two, refer to Cricut Maker quick swap blades. So there is a blade that creates wavy lines, wavy cuts for you, which is nice for borders, or if you wanted to have like a scalloped edge around something that's like a journaling block or something like that, or photo mat. This is nice. And then you have perforate, which creates perfs for like tear offs and things like that. I don't think you would necessarily use that as a scrapbooker, but wavy might be something that you would be interested in. And in that case, you would need a Cricut maker to do that. Then you have the draw submenu. Pin, we talk about that all the time. Foiling, you can foil on the Joy, the Maker, and Explore series. The foiling, great for accenting specific die cut shapes. Also good for custom background paper, which I've not actually experimented with, but I might do that in a future video or workshop. Scoring, you definitely want scoring for folds, like if you're doing interactive things on your scrapbook layout, like pullouts, things like that. You want to be able to score, or you're making custom albums and you need to fold. You want to be able to score. You're going to be able to do that on your Explore and Maker series only. Debossing is like, I don't know why they call it deboss, because it's really more like embossing. So if you're into embossing, maybe you've used embossing folders with die cuts, you can emboss on a Cricut. You need the Cricut Maker, and you use the deboss blade to do that. Engraving, you would not need this. That's also a Maker function. That is for metal. If you want to engrave metal pieces. Now you may want to put that in the scrapbook. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do that. It just makes your pages bulky and heavy. Print and cut. If you're into making stickers or doing like maybe you want a die cut image that is from your inkjet printer to put on your page, print and cut is vital for you to know how to do. Is probably one of the most popular functions on Cricut Design Space. And then guide, not necessary to use, but I like to use guides as to leave notes to myself. In particular, when I share files with you all, I will create like a note around a particular item on the canvas so that you know what it's for and what to do. Guides do not cut or print when you actually make your project. They're just there for you. Also, a lot of times I'll, like if I make a, we'll talk about this next workshop, is like, say I want to make a scrapbook page, and let's just say it's 5 by 7, and I'll lock that, and I'll make it white, and I'll click on that, come over here to guide, and it turns pink. You'll see that it's here. I can go into the layers panel and say layout base and make that a guide, and then just start building stuff on my page. The other thing is you can also make text as a guide. You just type in some text, select operation, and you may have seen me do this, like the layout page is 5 by 7, or just put it right next to it, so that when this is nice if you, as you're building a project and you just kind of want to make notes to yourself, that's what the guides are for. So I would definitely look into that. Some other functions that I think you might want to check out are offset, for sure. Offset gives you that nice outline look if that's what you're interested in. That's great for if you want to layer an embellishment cluster or something like that, and maybe you wanted to layer some hearts. That's what you would do. So maybe this little piece of the heart goes on top of there, and you use some foam tape to layer. Offset is great. That way you don't have to duplicate the heart, make a larger heart behind it. You don't have to do that. That's what offset is good for. Create sticker is for access users. it does the same thing as print then cut. It's just a quicker way of making a sticker. I have demoed this before. You have some options in terms of whether you want a kiss cut or if you want a border around it like that. You can change the border to any color you want, and then you would just hit apply, and then you would do your regular print and cut. Or it would just, the machine would do the regular print and cut. If you do print and cut the old-fashioned way, like say I did this, I came over to the basic cut, hit print and cut. Let's see, did it, oh, it's doing the offset. Let me do another image. Let's do a circle. Let's change the color to pink. Okay, if I did that and I did print and cut, oh, okay, it used to be you had to do flatten, so you don't need to do that. They've changed that, which is nice. This one just gives you, create sticker just gives you more options in terms of outlining and bordering and wide and custom and kiss cut versus die cut. A kiss cut would, let me go back. So a die cut cuts all the way through your paper, and a kiss cut just cuts to the edge of the paper without going all the way through. So if you're someone who makes sticker sheets, you probably want to do kiss cut. If you are okay with just cutting the sticker through, peeling off the back and sticking it on your layout, or if you're a person that just does like cardstock images, you can probably just do the regular die cut and just have it go all the way through the paper and then apply it to your page. So those are your two options there. The other thing you want to be familiar with is these functions down here. Let me see if I can get them to light up. Nope. Let me get rid of these. And we'll just do another, we'll do this little pillbox shape. Down here, oh, it's still not, oh, because I need another shape. Let's duplicate. Okay, let's make this one pink. All right. So these menus down here, and we'll be using Slice today on our project, but this combine menu here is so crucial in terms of creating your own custom images. So I did a video recently where I showed you how to create a brand new image by just using those functions. So I can unite those two and do a little macaron. It looks like a macaron to me. Image, I can select and punch out. And this is available on any, doesn't matter what machine you're using. You can do these functions here and cut out and create completely different shapes using that. So definitely play around with that if you're into creating new shapes. For example, let's just do let's do a really simple one. Say I wanted to make a Christmas tree, and I don't want to pay for one, or I just want to make like a fir tree for oh, I'm having a hard time. Here we go. I want to make a pine tree, and I don't want to use an image from the image library, or I don't, I don't see anything I like and I just want something simple. I can do this myself. Also want to probably learn the align, the align menu. Center horizontally. There we go. I can come over here, combine. Weld works too. Let's do weld. New shape. Change it to green. Boom. I have a little pine tree. And I just did that just by using the shapes here. the basic shapes. Maybe I want to make that brown, and I want to send it to the back, and I'm going to grab all of those, and I'm going to align center horizontally again, and then I'm going to right click and group. Done. There's my Christmas tree. See how easy that was? Oh, let's add a star. So you don't need to necessarily buy, let's make them bigger, buy images, whether within Design Space or other things. You can do this right here without paying for anything. And it took me 2 seconds, or a couple, not 2 seconds, maybe a minute. But there you have it, Christmas tree. And I can duplicate it. I can ungroup. Maybe I want to get rid of the star. Click resize. Maybe I want to make a forest scene. Duplicate. I mean, there's a scene right there. Maybe I want to have it be on a mountain or something. I'm just goofing at this point, you guys. I don't know. Like, say I wanted that or something. You know, I could do that and can create a little scene here. So it's just understanding how to use the different functions to get different things. Any questions about that? And I'm going quickly because I want to get to the project, so I don't want to spend too much time on this stuff, because you've seen me do some of these things in the videos already. And like I said, I am working on workshops where we will take, like, we'll just work on maybe something like that, just using existing shapes and creating new images. So I'm going to pause for a second, let you all think about that. And again, it's kind of hard because I'm not sure where everybody is in their knowledge of Cricut. So some of you may be saying, I already know this. And some of you might be saying, oh, wow, I didn't know you could do that. So don't be afraid to ask questions or leave comments or what have you. So those are I would say, in terms of like where the rubber hits the road, I would say create sticker, print and cut, offset, and these functions over here are really at a base level what you should use to really make your scrapbook elements, and that would be your journaling blocks and your embellishments and other things shine, is to know those functions. Other things that I think are interesting is when you go to make, and sometimes you have like a zillion different colors, and to save to be economic with your paper, you might want to have some parts of your layout have same color, so that you don't have 30 mats when you go to make it. So you would use color sync, and you can drag the different elements here on your layout and change the colors of them without actually going and clicking and changing the colors. And that's a nice way to combine things so that you don't have, the 50 different mats when you go cut. Another thing to kind of be aware of is contour. And that won't work unless I have, let's see, I have light shining in my face, so it's kind of hard to see the menu. So let me show you contour, because that, let's try the sunglasses here. Okay, let's see if it will let me. Nope. Okay, well, generally speaking, contour allows you to, it's on certain images where images are pre-made and layered a certain way, you could turn off specific parts of, let me see if I ungrouped it, if it did it. Nope. Okay, that's probably not a good example, but essentially what it would do, instead of me doing that manually like I just did here by ungrouping, what I could do with contour is I could select parts of the image and turn it off. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. You would select part of the image and you see how it turned off there. Or I could get rid of both of those. Or I could click over here. But it's just a way of turning off specific parts of a complex image so that it doesn't cut. So that's something else you can try. I don't use it very often, but I have played with it, and it does give me some interesting results. So that's something, yeah, so when I ungrouped, everything went away. So I'm just going to delete all of these little excess things. Attach is important as well. So say you want to, let's just do this one. Say you want to create a block with text on it, like just a little piece with text like that. And I wanted the text to print on top of that little pillbox shape. So I would come over here. Well, first I would flatten this text. Then I would come over here, put my text on top of that, select both, and then do attach. That way, when I go to make it, and I'm going to turn off these trees and that half circle. No, I don't want to save it. Okay. It's going to tell me over here in the project preview that it's going to print, then cut this shape. So it will, the pen tool, it will prompt me for the pen tool. Let's see if it does that right. So, or I'm sorry, not the pen tool, but because I flattened everything, it's going to do print on my printer, and then it's going to cut out the shape from that. So attach is important to know. Nope, I am not going to save that. No, I don't want to. Yes, I want to cancel the cut. Okay, again, I can't see because light's shining in my face. All right, so that's that. And if you want to detach, you just go to the bottom of the screen and it should detach. And of course I can't unflatten. There we go. I might have to do undo because I cannot see what I'm doing here with the light. There we go. So you can undo or do detach to undo that. So attach. So again, offset, print and cut or create sticker. The warp tool, which I never showed you. Let's do that real quick. That would be up here. That is also an access function. You can see it without access, but in order to cut it, you have to have access. This allows you to change the shape of your shapes. So that's another way to customize your images. We talked about the combine menu down here with slice, extract, unite, exclude. We're going to be using the slice tool over here for our project. Attach and flatten are important to know. Color sync and contour optional. If there's any specific thing you want me to demo, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to go to tools and materials. So we're going to get I'm going to switch off here. And I want to talk about tools and materials for scrapbooking. And I've got a big old stack of stuff here. Let me see if I can. I'm zoomed out pretty far. Okay. Tools and materials. So obviously pattern paper and cardstock. So let me give you a caveat that I find works well with me. So cardstock weight, medium to heavy. So this is medium. This is what you would generally find in your scrapbooking stores out there. A heavyweight cardstock is going to feel a little bit thicker. There's something called craft board, which is in this stack. This is a little bit thicker heavier weight cardstock. I'll share that in a second more fully, but cardstock, that weight is good. Pattern paper, I would use the same weight pattern paper as you do with your medium weight cardstock. This is lightweight. Cricut can cut this on a light setting, cutting, not default, but the less pressure setting. I tend not to do very well with the really thin weight. And you know, the thin weight is the stuff you get at Michael's when you go to the paper aisle and they have the loose paper out. It's usually this kind of stuff, or Joann's, because I got this at Joann's. It's thin. I don't like it because the blade can get gunked up and tear the paper. It's just not worth the heartache. So I tend to just stick with medium weight cardstock and pattern paper, and life is good. If you are using something different, let me know. Caveat to that is vellum, because there might be times when you want to jazz up your title blocks or embellishments or like that, and you want to use vellum. This is the only time I would use paper this thin, and I don't use it very often because the tearing that the blade does, even if you have a fresh blade, it's just tricky. It's what the intricate cuts, and I don't do a lot of intricate cuts on Cricut just because I just find that the tinier or the smaller the cut, the worse the machine does. It's just not worth doing it to me. But I bring it out to show that it is possible, but I use it sparingly. Sticker paper. So I put this out because I know there might be some Joy users. This is the smart paper, which means you don't need a mat and you can just run it through. I don't use it very often. It is a cardstock weight. I used this, I don't know if you can see because it's kind of, there we go. This is one of those cut and draw options, images that you can find in Design Space. So the pen tool drew that little image on the butterfly and then cut it out. And I did not, actually, this is okay, so this is an example, excuse me, of a kiss cut where it didn't go all the way through for a sticker. And I did not hand do it. I think I did it. Did I? No, I may have done it by hand. Yeah, because it's smart paper. So I did feed it. I did feed it through my machine as is. I did not use a mat. But this is an example of the sticker paper for the Joy. I like the cardstock weight sticker paper just because I don't know why. I think, I don't know, I think you get a nice result with it. So I just use it. There's not really any I'm not against the other. I just tend to use the cardstock weight. Like here's clear printable sticker paper. I don't really, let me see if I have an example in here. I do. This is from last year. So this is I don't really, I don't know if I would use this on a scrapbook page, but some of you might. But that's an example of clear. Yeah, I would just probably use cardstock for these, but they're fun. Those are also Kiss Cut as well. Those images, the pumpkin was from the Halloween kit, and the squirrel was from Fall into Autumn kit, FYI. This is what I generally use. I don't know if the packaging is old, so it may not look like this anymore, but it is printable sticker paper. It is cardstock. There are people who have had issues feeding it through their inkjet printer. Generally what I do is I just kind of hold it and just gently push it down until the printer grabs it, and I don't have any issues. But I like, as I said before, I like the printable sticker paper. This isn't smart, meaning that you actually have to put it on a Cricut mat, which isn't a bad thing. Okay, craft board. So this craft board, it actually comes in matte, white, black, and craft color. This is a sturdier cardstock. I like to use this for making album covers. So I will, instead of chipboard, so a lot of times I'll just use this as an album cover and decorate it with whatever, or cover it with pattern paper, but have this as like the base, so I get a little sturdiness from it. I would use this for mostly making mini albums, and it scores nicely too if you have the scoring tool. It also comes in metallic, so you get some metallic colors, and it also is good for, as this shows you, making like say you made a mini album and you wanted like a nice case to go with the mini album. You could make the case out of the craft board and put the mini album in it. So I have done that before too, and that's really nice. And this is from Cricut, but I'm sure you can find craft board from other folks. Faux suede. This is something I want to try. So you can use this in scrapbooks, okay? They give you this example here, which is like really a frame. I wouldn't use this much dimension on a scrapbook page, but this frame, say you wanted to have a suede frame for a photo on your scrapbook page, you could do this. You don't need a deep cut blade, and you can use a regular Cricut blade to do it. So I have not opened it yet, but it is something I want to experiment with, and you get some nice colors. I think I originally bought this to make earrings with, to play with, but I have some really cool ideas for embellishments. I think in this sampler, you could do some really nice fall, maybe some Christmas with it too. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna experiment and get back to you. Foil. We talked about foil in terms of decorating a particular embellishment. We know that a lot of people like the foil accent on embellishments, or even on background paper. You've seen that, like on paper pads, and they'll say, oh, it has foil on it. You could do that. You could create your own with Cricut. Now, I will say the caveat is I don't know if they're gonna keep up with the foil thing because it is always on discount, and I know people have issues with it. It is not easy to work with. I have worked with it and had decent results. I mean, this is what they're saying you can do with it if you look at the image, but it's not easy, and it's just because the way you have to, it messes up your mat. It's just not forgiving, but if it works really well. And I have some examples on that, and I think I did a video about foiling at one point, so you could probably find that. This is relatively new. This is a 12 by 12 sheet of foil. So I was thinking, like, if I wanted to do some sort of pattern paper or in cardstock and make my own foil background, I could do that with this. I have seen it in gold. I have silver. I don't know if there's any other colors that it comes in, but I would like to definitely experiment making a full background. It's just that sometimes I get frustrated with the foil and I'm like, I don't want to deal with you anymore, but I'm gonna go back and try it. But yeah, my results have been mixed. So this is not a full-throated endorsement of Cricut foil. Glitter paper. Okay, so glitter also is another material that I recommend using for your scrapbook embellishments and titles and all of that stuff. Cricut makes their own. It's very thick. This is like what I would call the heavy cardstock weight, and I personally would only use it to make sturdy things like this. Like, so this is a party, like cake topper type thing, signage and all of that kind of stuff. You could use it for scrapbooking. I just wouldn't because it's so thick and a little inflexible. My preferred glitter cardstock is die cuts with a view because it's flat. Okay, there's no flaking. I get the glitter effect without having it flake. Here is an example of Michael's Recollections brand glitter. While pretty, what ends up happening is that when the Cricut blade is going around it, it kicks up excess glitter, which ends up on my mat and in the cartridge of the blade itself. It's horrible because then you have to clean out the blade cartridge. I also have a separate mat that I use for glitter and glitter cardstock only. I do not mix regular paper with glitter paper. Now, I could get away with that if I'm using this, but if I'm using this kind of like gritty, textured, heavily textured glitter paper, I need to use a separate mat. I don't like doing all of that extra. So if I'm feeling glittery, I always go for the die cuts with a view. This may not be, I think I've seen some new packaging for it, so I don't know. And I think it has some new glitter colors, but you know, you get a nice little rainbow of colors. Get the black cardstock, which is nice for Halloween. Silver, you cannot go wrong with this one. I don't see it in the stores. I've seen it on Amazon. That's where I would get it. That's my recommendation for glitter paper. Acetate. You might want to do some interesting effects. You know, most people think acetate is like making a little clear gift box, but you might think about using some acetate for some of your embellishments or titles, actually kind of working like a vellum, or if you're doing some layered stuff. The only thing about the acetate is it has a film on it, so you need to cut it and then peel off that film. I don't use this that much, but I just thought I would bring it up here to show you some examples of, or show you an out there example of materials that you could use. Felt. This is something I'd like to use a little bit more. So if we go back to this little example from Jolie's Those of you who have been scrapbooking a while may remember Jolie's. I don't think they make them anymore, but they used to have really fun embellishments like this. Like these clouds were made with glitter, so I could use some glitter paper with that. This feels like some wood. Cricut does cut wood, so if you wanted to be adventurous and find a sleigh die cut in the image library, you could probably cut this out with wood. But for this is felt. So if I wanted to say there was a little coat image that I found in the Design Space library and I wanted to make it with felt, I could do that. And here's the felt. Now this is Cricut felt. You can use other kinds of felt. And I think they have one or two collections. So this is one of the collections. These are like spring colors, but it's a nice tight fiber felt. I don't have any tearing or I've done some flowers and stuff with it. I've had a good experience with it. I want to use it a little bit more on my embellishments. But yeah, it's a fun material. I did look it up. Joy Extra and Joy don't cut felt, but there are cheats that I've seen. So if you Google like can Cricut Joy cut felt, you will see some examples come up. But for the Maker and the Explorer series, you can do felt without any issue, and you can use a regular blade. And on the Cricut Maker, you could also use the rotary fabric blade for that. So those are some materials for you to check out in terms of, like beyond paper and cardstock. What kind of different effects could you use? So, because the thing is that the fancier you get, is usually due to the type of materials that you use. So the more adventurous you get with your materials, the more creative you can get with your embellishments. But if you just want to stick with paper and cardstock, that's cool too. So I'll pause for questions about materials. What kind of materials do you guys use? Have you used any of those? Let me know in the comments. We are actually getting to the point where we're going to make our project. So I am going to point out that there is, let me get my materials here. So we've got this PDF here. Let me actually change views. So this is the PDF that you can download that are the instructions for this particular project. So if you had to leave or you couldn't watch, or you're watching us in the replay, you want to download this PDF. It includes a link to the project in Cricut Design Space. I give you some material suggestions and step-by-step instructions on how to make this, and then there's some screenshots for some things that I think you might want to look at. I also give you some recommended videos to watch that may refer to some of the things that we're doing, and some supply lists. I will tell you that I have linked to some things that are affiliate links to the scoring tool and an all-access subscription if you desire that. If you click those links, I will receive a little commission at no additional cost to you. So if you do that, I thank you in advance. Let's look at the project in Design Space. Let me pull that up for you. And let's see. If you have any questions, again, don't feel shy about asking. Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so this is when you go into Design Space or you click that link that I gave you, this is what you'll see. What you want to do is click Customize first. Yes, we're going to replace that project. And let me bring up. So I've hidden some of the layers. So I think, yeah, okay. So these are all of the elements of this tag. So right here, you can see one of my guides there. These two little circles are the slice result of, or will be the slice result for this piece here that goes on top of the tag. This is the tag base that we're playing with. Here are some leaves. All of these are free in Design Space. I intentionally used free images. To use this individually, you'd have to ungroup them, and we'll get to that. This is a tag, a note card. I'm not really sure why there's an outline to it, but I'll just turn that off. And then if we look at the tag itself, let's zoom in to it. We've got this print then cut embellishment. These are from this, these leaves are from this big group of leaves that I've resized down. This is a slice result from this note card piece here. I'll show you how to do that. And then these are just rectangles that I created from squares. So let's go ahead. I'm going to show you, let me show you the final project really quickly. So this is the final project. And I've added some additional embellishments and things to it, so I'll show you how to do that when we get to that part. But let's go into Design Space. I'm going to follow the written instructions so that when you get the instructions for yourself, you'll see how everything is done. Or if you've downloaded everything, you can work along with me. That's cool too. So we've got the tag image already on our canvas here. If you were to try to find this image yourself, you would come up to the shapes menu. I'm sorry. That's not, actually want you to go to the images menu, and I gave you the image name. So you'd come up here and you type pound, because that's the number, M3 D8 AD, and then hit return, and then that tag would pop up, and then you would click the plus sign to add it to your canvas. And you would do that for all of the images that I give you in the PDF, but you generally don't have to, because in the Design Space file excuse me, itself, I've already put everything down there for you. But in case you accidentally delete something, you have the information for how to get that tag. Okay, so our tag is on the canvas, and then I'm going to change the color. This color palette is actually from my fall autumn, I think, or fall color palettes PDF. It's a free download that has about 15 different fall color palettes that you can use on your fall projects. So check that out. You can get that on the scrapbookschool.com. All right, so that's the first thing. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add, I'm going to zoom in so you can see a little closer. I'm going to add square. So I'm going to come over here to the free menu. I'm going to get a little square here. And I want it to fit over top of this. We're going to do this gold square here. And that is, the measurement I gave you is 2.5 by 1.5. So I'm going to come up here to the size menu. I'm going to unlock, so I do not constrain the proportions. Because it's a square, if I put in 3, it would automatically default to 3 by 3. I want it to be 2.5 by 1.5. So I come up there and I'm going to type 2.5 by 1.5. And just to lock it to be on the safe side, that is my rectangle that fits there. And then I'm going to change it to the gold. Boom. You don't have to use these colors. You can use any colors that you want. I also wanted to point out that all of the paper that I'm using is cardstock. There's no pattern paper in this project, and it is all from my scraps. Just FYI. Now, I am going to right click because I'm lazy. I don't want to go back over and get another square. So I'm just going to duplicate this rectangle, and I'm going to change that shape. I'm going to unlock it, and it's going to be, I think it's 0.5 inches in height, half an inch. And then I'm going to change the color, and it's like a little brownish. I think it's this one, yeah. And that goes under there like so. Okay, pretty simple, pretty easy. The next thing I want to do is I want to create, let me slide over. I want to create this piece here, which is like a little scalloped edge for that. I need to use my exclude tool. I'm sorry, not exclude, slice. I need to use my slice tool. So I am going to come back over here. I'm going to get a little square, and I'm going to make it a rectangle. So I'm just going to unlock the dimensions, and I'm going to drag it about right so on this imaginary line from this point to this point, like that. And I'm going to make sure that the entire top part of that tag or note card is covered. And then I'm going to click and drag to select both. You could also come over into the layers panel, shift click the square and the note card. I'm going to grab both of those items. I'm going to come down at the bottom of the layers panel and click slice. And then I'm just going to pull that excess away. This is the slice result. Okay, I don't need those, so I'm going to delete them. And then we need to change the color of the slice result. I think it's that cream. And I'm going to grab the handles and resize it so that it fits. It's about it should be about 2.5 inches wide. So if I wanted to be exact, I can come up here to 2.5. And because that's the width of the tag, and just slide that under there. Pretty easy. So you see how I've just created a customized shape from that original note card shape, which is nice. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the leaves. Oh wait, no, you know what? Let's do the little circle, because that's also a slice function. So what you want to do is you want to grab 2 circles, or grab 1 circle and then duplicate it, right click duplicate, or edit menu duplicate. And I'm going to make 1 circle 0.5 inches. And then this one would be, I think I had 0.2. And I'm going to change the color like so. Okay. And I'm just going to get rid of those, or just move them out of the way because I don't need them. All right. I'm going to take this little guy and put him on top of the big guy like that. I'm going to click and drag to select both. And I'm going to come up to the align menu, and I'm just going to do center so that it's centered all the way around, smack dab in the middle. And with those 2 circles still selected, come down to your slice menu and then just drag away the excess. And this is all that should remain. You can get rid of those doodads. And we're going to change the color to, I think it was, or that one. And then just drag it over top like so. So that's how our tag is looking so far. All right, let me zoom out. So let's put our leaves on, and the leaves, like I say, they come in a group. So if I right click them and do ungroup like so, we've got a big maple leaf. So I'm going to take the handles and just resize him. Also need to right click, bring to front. And I think that's about the size it was. Okay. And I want to use this, I think this is an oak leaf, right? I'm going to resize them, drag it, I'll bring it to the front. And then I'm using this purple leaf here. Make sure I just bring to front, and you see how when I dragged it around one of the handles, I can rotate. And I'm not going to worry about layering because I'll do that when I actually make the tag. Next, we have, oh, I don't have my sentiment. So let me go over here and go to image menu and find the sentiment, which was pound M1897 BCA. There it is. I'm going to add that to the canvas. There it is. And then I'm going to drag the handle and resize it to fit on top of my tag, like so. Now, one thing I want to point out to you to give you some options. So if you notice these slashed lines here, those indicate score lines. So let's just select the maple leaf, and you'll see here that I have a score layer and the base layer with the leaf. And the score layer is attached to the leaf layer so that when I go to make it, Cricut knows that I'm going to score on top of those leaves. If you do not have a scoring tool, so if you are on a Joy machine, for example, or you just don't have a scoring tool or scoring wheel, which is for the makers, you can either select the score layer and turn off the little eyeball, and you'll see the score lines appearing and disappearing, or click it and just delete it. Or if you have a pen tool, you can select the score layer, come over here to operation, and go down to draw and do pen. And then you get the option to change the color of the pen to whatever you want. So I'm just going to pick brick. And then we lost the attachment. So we need to come over here to the layers panel, shift click on leaves, draw, shift click on leaves basic cut, and oh wait, did it attach? It should, but let's test it. So when we go to make it, that attachment should still be there. Let's just make sure. So let's see. Oh. All right, this is the easiest way to do this. So let's do group. And then whatever's not in the group, we can turn off. No, I'm still not. I am not a fan of the layers panel. I have a hard time with it for some reason. I don't know why. but it doesn't like me, and I don't like it. I find it hard to see. I don't know. That's just me. Okay. And I turned off all those layers because I don't want them to cut. So we go to make, we go to the project preview window, and here's where we're going to just check and make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be. So I've got my print then cut layer, that's fine. And then I've got my maple leaf, score, and basic cut. Just more basic cutting, just checking to make sure everything looks good. There's no weird extraneous stuff that I don't need. Now here it says pin and then basic cut. So that lets me know that that my lines are actually going to draw on it. You can't see it because it's kind of the same color as the paper. So if we go continue, my Maker 3 is turned on, but my Bluetooth is slow. Okay, so I've highlighted this, and I'm going to say medium cardstock, and yes, it's going to tell me to load my pin in there, and I have my blade, and that's good to go. So that's exactly what I want. Now, if I want it to score, like on this one, the purple leaf, it's going to give me the option to load a scoring wheel, which is for Maker, or what I generally use most of the time is the scoring stylus, and I can change that here. And so I would load the stylus in clamp A. My blade would be in B as normal, and then I would be able to go ahead and cut. So that's what that looks like in Design Space. Now let us put it together. So give me a second to get myself situated. All right, so these are my pre-cut materials. So we're using this as our inspiration. So for the base tag, I use Basil Basics paper because you get a little texture with it. And then at this point, I just start gluing things down. But before I glue, let me just make sure that everything, this background is where I want it to be. Yeah, that looks good. Now, some other things that I could do with the leaves is, as you can see in my example, you've got like sort of this metallic-y look. I used Distress inks and Distress spritz. Now the spritz is what gave it that metallic shine. So I basically inked the die cuts with like a brush, you know, dipped it in some ink and just ink the edges. And then I use the spray at an angle like this. You have to shake it at an angle really lightly, and I got that nice effect. So I'm going to be doing a video soon on using Distress to hype up I don't know what the other word, hype up your embellishments. All right, so that's our base. I'm going to go ahead and put the little circle, I don't know what you call those things, but it's like, you know, coin, how those old coin envelopes used to have that little thing. I don't know what it's called. I have no idea. It's called a thing, a thingy. Okay. Here is my print then cut error. If you were with me earlier, and we were talking about why you need to calibrate for print then cut. This is what happens when you don't. You get that print then cut fail because I did not calibrate my machine. And I didn't think I had to because I had already calibrated it the day before. This is the next day and it uncalibrated itself. I have no idea why that happened, but whatever. Here are my leaves that I'm going to, this little guy didn't glue down. Hang on a second. Okay. Here is an example of the leaf with, I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. With the scoring, you probably can't. It's very subtle, but it's a nice little texture that you can add. I would curl the ends, and this is where you could do some inking if that's what you wanted to do with a brush or a sponge, but just to give it a little something, dimension. And just curl that. Now, here is my maple leaf with the ink pen, the Cricut pen drawn on instead of the score tool. So you, like I said, you can't really see the score lines because they're so subtle. But just for comparison's sake, that's what you could do if you were interested. And this is also at the stage where you would use your spray ink. Let me just bring this up so you can see. It adds a nice little sheen to your tag when you do that. Because there's no pattern paper on this tag, so it's just plain cardstock. So just so your cardstock doesn't end up being plain, you can use that ink spray to jazz it up. And then after I would let my ink dry, I would use some dimensional adhesive to just lay on top. Like so. And these are from scrapbook.com, I believe. They were free. I'm not going to turn down free from an order. That's the one thing about scrapbook.com. A lot of times when you make orders with them, they have stuff that's free. I always take it. I got some free scissors I have never used, but it was free. I'm not going to turn down free. So, oh, okay. I'm not looking at my own example. I'm supposed to tuck under. There we go. Like so. Then I've got, oh, I forgot to do one thing. Sorry. If you have it, you're supposed to wrap some twine around it or thread or some sort. I'm going to skip it on that for this one just so we can compare. So you can see how it looks when you don't add all that extra. I'm going to add my embellishment. I'm going to do that with the foam dot too, like so. This is a nice little Thanksgiving fall theme tag. Then I would add some pearls. These are from Close to My Heart, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. And because I don't have the other stuff, the little twine, I'm just gonna take up space. with those little guys. Oh, these are the brushes that I was saying, because they're soft, nice blending brushes. And on this one, it's very subtle, but you can maybe see where just doing that, I was able to get the ink in the grooves of the score lines, which was a happy accident, but it turned out really nice. Okay, I'm going to use some more little pearls. And as I'm adding the pearls, I'm just using different sizes, because I think it looks good when you have varying sizes of stuff like that. And I might put one over here. Okay. And then to finish it off, sorry for all the crinkling, I'm going to just put on some ribbon. And tie it off. Tie it off however you want, or you can just omit the ribbon. And then I would just trim. I don't have my scissors handy. I don't know where they are. But yeah, so that's what I would do. So those are your two different tag options. This one uses the spray ink and the regular ink. Let me see if I can get closer. There we go. This one has the spray ink and the distress spray ink and regular ink, and then this one has no ink, but I use the pen tool to give you the veins of the leaves, whereas this one, the score tool, does it. So at least you can see like what one looks like with the score tool, without, with ink, without. So you have some options here, but that's pretty much the tag. And the other big thing is that we use the exclude tool. I'm sorry, why do I keep saying exclude? It is slice. We use the slice tool to create a custom shape here at the bottom. Also up here for the little tag topper. And we also used, what other function? The scoring in the pen, and then also the print then cut, using a pre-designed print then cut image. So hopefully you got some ideas of how to use the different Cricut functions and things for scrapbooking purposes. We talked about different tools you could, well, we didn't really go into tools that much, except to say the scoring blade and the pins are probably good tools you want to have in your toolbox. Materials, we looked at a variety of materials. These are the things that are going to elevate your designs, your journaling blocks, your title blocks, your borders, your, what else do we create? Just embellishment clusters. All of these different things can really add to your pages. And this is why I like to use Cricut for scrapbooking. It is probably the most powerful tool I have in my scrapbooking toolbox. I don't need to use thin dies, the old rubber dies. I don't need to have a separate punch to do this. I mean, it's all contained in one machine. Like I said, I am not a paid Cricut shill. I am not. I've just used the machine for 20 years, and over time just really figured out how to make it work for me and the type of projects that I do, whether it's paper crafting or sewing or quilting or whatever. But primarily for me, it is paper crafting. And I cannot imagine going back to not having it, because it just it's just fun to use, and it really has allowed me to be more creative than I was when I was just using the regular dies. So just so you all know, next week, it was next week, I was doing a workshop on making quick and easy layouts. I've moved that to October 5th because I had some things, personal schedule I needed to change around. So you have another week to sign up for that, and I'll have more information about that coming out next week. And in that class, we're going to walk through a process of building a scrapbook page in Design Space. We will do that together. We'll be using some of the techniques that I talked about today that you should know. So just sort of building on what we talked about today in that class in 2 weeks. What else? Housekeeping wise, I can't think of anything else housekeeping wise. If you have questions about what we talked about today, feel free to email me or leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, or on the Scrapbook School website if you're watching on the Scrapbook School website. I encourage you to sign up for any of the freebies on my site. They allow you to kind of play with some of these techniques. I like to design projects or just SVG files that allow you to really get familiar with some of the techniques that we've talked about today. So I appreciate your time, you spending your Saturday with me. You could be anywhere else other than hanging out with me, so I really appreciate it. Let me know if there's other workshops or videos that you'd like me to do in the future. Again, thanks so much for being here, and as always, happy scrapping.